Hi, I'm Jeff Sweet. I intend to do a series of short, informal talks about different aspects of playwriting theory and certain theatrical questions that have occurred to me. I've been trying to figure out how to approach playwriting from a craft point of view ever since I was 18 years old, when I had the good fortune to be admitted to Lehman Engel's BMI musical theater workshop. Lehman believed that writing great musicals was not just a matter of opening yourself up to inspiration by the gods, but that there were concrete principles that underlay how to write, for instance, a good comedy song. I learned a lot from Lehman, though I've come up with some theories of my own since studying with him. A lot of what I believe comes from having been exposed to a couple of other wonderful people, Viola Spolin and her son, Paul Sills. Back in 1978, I published Something Wonderful Right Away, a book about how Second City was born and how improvisational theater came to be. And in brief, it came to be because during the Depression, Viola Spolin came up with a series of challenges to be used in rehearsal that would spur young people to spontaneously create theatrical moments. She called these theater games. If you're curious, and I hope you are, she wrote a book called Improvisation for the Theater, in which she lists many of her games and articulates the thinking behind them. Anyway, her son, Paul Sills, took the training that he'd learned at his mother's knee and helped create first a place called the Compass and then a place called the Second City. These were both in Chicago. These theaters developed mostly satiric or observational comedy. They created material improvisationally. It turned out the training for being an improviser was doing Viola's games. So it occurred to me when I was working on Something Wonderful Right Away that the audience really doesn't care how the material is developed as long as it holds their interest. So it seemed to me to be likely that theater games, which create the opportunity to create compelling behavior in front of an audience spontaneously, that these theater games would have their analog in playwriting theory. So indeed, a lot of my ideas about playwriting theory are extensions of things that Viola and Paul discovered and taught. Anyway, that's what I'm after here. I'm going to discuss things I've learned from Lehman, Viola, and Paul, and from my own experimenting that I hope will offer craft assistance to people who are trying to write dramatic material, sketches or plays or musicals or screenplays. I mean, there's no substitute for having talent and a good idea, but I think that, for instance, knowing how to do exposition so it doesn't sound like exposition is kind of a useful thing to know. So I'm going to discuss this and other techniques in videos to come. I hope they're useful.